Copeland, he's the SED, that's the State Executive Director for the Farm Service Agency. Steve, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. And first of all, let me tell everybody a little bit about myself. I'm relatively new, just a few weeks on the job. So when we get to the question part, I'll be the first one to tell you I probably don't know the answer, but I'll find an answer if you have a question for me. Maddie probably knows more of the answers than I do, and there's other people in the room that probably know more about FSA than I do at the present time. I've been a farmer and a rancher my entire life. I graduated from Oklahoma State University in 1972 with a degree to teach vocational agriculture. Always wanted to be a VOAG teacher. I had a great VOAG teacher in high school. He was more than a teacher to me. And I wanted to be able to do the same thing. I thought that was great, to influence young people, you know, form young folks and get them started right. Well know life as a way of changing things. And I had gotten married before I graduated. We ended up having twins instead of, didn't know we were having twins. We had some problems, lost one of them. In the process, I didn't get a job teaching. Yeah. So I went back to the farm. My folks were getting up in years, and they'd reached the point where they was either going to have to find some help or sell the farm and ranch. And they raised Hereford cattle their whole life, registered Hereford cattle, and I'd been involved with it. So I ended up going back and doing that my whole life. Well, if you're involved in anything in a rural community, you find out the first thing that happens is that they need people to serve on committees. You know, and they need people to serve on fair boards. And so you end up getting involved with the rural people, and if rural life is that important to you, you get involved in it because you want to make it successful for everybody. So I did. I got involved in a bunch of different organizations, Rural Water Board, Fair Board, you name it. I was invited by an individual who I rented some property from to go to a Farm Bureau meeting one night. Little did I know that meant they were going to put you on the board if you went to the meeting. So I ended up getting put on the county board. Things progressed. I became the county president. Later on, became the state Farm Bureau president, and had the opportunity as a state president of Farm Bureau to serve on the National American Farm Bureau Federation Board. Got the opportunity there to travel all over the world promoting biotechnology in agriculture. Had some great experiences, been to a lot of wonderful places, China, Australia. I mean, I could sit here and name you in places that I had the opportunity to visit, and it was a great experience. Well, our organization supported an initiative in this state to limit the terms of politicians because we thought term limits were the answer to all our problems. Well, we couldn't hypocritically do that for them and not have it in our own organization, so we had term limits in our organization. So I turned out as president and decided, now what am I going to do? You know, and I went back and was enjoying farming. I thought, you know, I've got all this knowledge. I just, you know, the cows don't really listen to me when I tell them everything I know. And so I decided I'd run for the legislature, and I served in the legislature for 10 years, and really enjoyed that. So after I did that and went back, it ended, and I went back to the farm, and I thought, this opportunity came open to apply for this job, and I'll be the first one to tell you, you know, I thought it would be a great opportunity to continue to serve people in agriculture, and agriculture's been the true love of my life. I think it's a great vocation, you know, and organizations, governmental organizations like FSA are one of the biggest assets that farmers and ranchers and people in agriculture have. And I think, personally, my job is to try to promote that to as many people as possible, to get them to take advantage of the programs we have. I didn't realize, like I said, I served on the county FSA committee, and I didn't realize all the programs that were available to producers in agriculture. And I still don't. I'll be honest with you, I'm still learning every day. And we talked about acronyms. They're killing me. You know, I sat and listened to people in FSA talk, and I try to be intelligent, you know, look like I know what's going on. While they're talking about these, you know, I just nod and smile and go on like I know. To be honest with you, I go back in the office and I flip through my page of acronyms and figure out what they were talking about, because I mean there's so many programs available that, you know, that worries me that people don't know that they're available to them. And I think that's part of my job and the people that are in FSA and USDA to get that information out to folks, and we try. You made a good point, we try. I think there's one of the biggest things that I hear that concerns me is that people say, I've been told they hate to go in the office. They're kind of fearful to go in the office. There should be no reason anyone is afraid to go in any USDA office in the state of Oklahoma. Every one of the employees, I assure you, in FSA and rural development, I'm sure, same way, is willing and wanting more than you can imagine to help producers. People are interested in agriculture. We need people interested in agriculture. There's so few of us left in agriculture in this country, much less this state. I mean, we say 2%. That's a gross overestimate. There's very few people. We're getting squeezed out. Farmers are getting squeezed out, you know, and so we've got the ones that are interested in it and love it. Believe me, you're not getting in agriculture to get rich. You're getting in agriculture because you love to produce stuff. Farmers and ranchers are great producers. We're terrible marketers, but we're great producers. And we love to produce. We love to see things grow. We love the conservation aspects of agriculture. And so we need to work together and bring as many under the tent and under the umbrella and help us all to feed that love we have for agriculture. So I'll ask if there's any questions. I don't know if I got any answers, but I'll certainly, if I don't have the answer to it, I'll find it, or Maddie will get you an answer. But please tell anybody that you're aware of, don't have any concerns about going to a FSA office or rural development facility or anywhere that's USDA, conservation. Visit those people. They want to help you. That's their job, and it's more than a job to them. Most of them are rural folks that have a rural background. They love agriculture just as much as the producers do. Talk to them, befriend them, use them. They'll help you. With that, I'm going to give you one other thing. I'm going to give you my phone number. Everybody tells me don't do that. I don't care. Everybody in the world's got my phone number, so you just will have it. It's 405-606-9200. That's my personal phone. That's not my government phone. I don't even know what my government phone number is. That's my phone. If you have a question, concern, anything, feel free to call me. We'll try to address it. I may not agree with you, but I'll sure listen to you. So with that, you have a question?
I was just getting ready to ask you that.
Okay.
About your telephone number. One of the reasons we didn't have screens is because we want to interact everyone. So I'm encouraging you to interact. If an individual goes into a local office and they don't experience that welcoming, willingness to serve you, atmosphere, or an encounter with an individual, what would you recommend that they do?
Well, honestly, if you go into an office and you experience that, call me. We'll see what the problem is. I mean, in everybody's different, you know. I might go in some place that's as friendly as they can be, and I think I was shunned for some reason. It may not be them, it may be me. So if that's the case, or if it's vice versa, and it is the case, you know, we'll check into it. But I'm familiar mostly with my home office, which is in Oklahoma County. Most of the time when you go in, if you get the feelings you might be, it's because those people are so busy. Our people are so busy. They're like every organization. The first thing I heard when I got this position was, we need more help. You know, when I was with Farm Bureau, the insurance company, we need more help. Everybody needs more help. I understand that. We are limited by the budget that Congress gives us. We have to operate within the guidelines of the money we have. So believe me, we are constantly trying to get more people in, to free up more people, to, you know, so that won't be the problem. But a lot of times that could be a problem. They go in, somebody just doesn't run to them and greet them. They go, well, they really don't want me here. Well, that's not the case. They're busy. You know, a little patience on both sides will go a long ways. So be patient with the folks when you go in. You know, I mean, there may be some reluctancy to go in. If that's the case, don't feel like you've been slighted. You know, give them a little time. Give them a little opportunity. If that's a multiple thing that happens over time, then we'll see if there's a problem.
Are the offices open?
Yes.
When did they become open?
Last week or within the last few days. You know, the COVID situation has, you know, I don't think it's ever going to go away, but we've come to the point where I think it's safe to open offices, so the offices are masked. You know, going to wear a mask in, fine. You know, I'm sure some of our employees still wear masks, maybe, but that's a personal decision.
Do you, for the culture of the FSA, should any of the employees in the front office tell someone that they don't do that? We don't do that. We don't have that. I don't know what you're talking about. Should they use language like that? Or
well, you know, if it's a program they don't handle, I would prefer they would tell you where to go that you could find that information. But I mean, I can understand someone saying that we don't do that program if they're asked directly. I mean, you know, you're talking some nuances, I'll say, but, you know, which could be some situations where people think they're shunned because they get an answer like that. They may think, well, they don't help me. If they don't know and it's not their program, I can understand an answer like that being given. Personally, you know, I would prefer them to be, you know, if they know where to send them or give them other alternatives, to seek that information. Yes, sir.
You know, it's a good thing you mentioned budgets and things of this nature and guidelines and so on and so forth, but some of the experiences that I've had was, and I hope you will share that, may share that with your staff, is that when you're telling someone that, you know, by the time we go out, some of the products and services that are out there is generally 2 to 3, 4, maybe even at the end of the program here. And at that point, the dollars have already evaporated. So it would be a big help for me if, rather than saying we have no money, is there something else we could help them with? Or something referring to another program that may have that kind? Because, again, by the time it gets to where I live, we got the sticks, so to speak, and believe me, we do communicate, but sometimes you don't hear about these programs.
So could you enlighten me as to what program was out of money that you worked? I mean, as far as I know, most of the programs don't have, some of the emergency programs, and I wasn't FSA director at the time, but I was aware of some of the programs that they instituted during the COVID outbreak for the cattle, the beef industry there was a set amount of money for it. It was kind of, but most of the programs that I'm familiar with, Maddie, correct me, or anyone else that's familiar, I don't think there's a limit to the money on the programs. I don't think it's,
You know, the thing that I was talking about was 20 years ago, my experience with.
well, you're going 20 years back. Hey.
Well, you see, I've left since then.
Yeah.
I've done.
Well, I don't think that's an issue.
The thing is, please, in the future, if that sort of thing happens, be sure to let your folks know that, refer folks, otherwise, just don't tell them there's no money available. Because at that point, think what that feels on the other end.
If you go to an office anywhere today and they tell you there's no money available, you call me on that number right there.
Very good, thank you, sir.
Mary?
Yes,
Okay.
please do.
So we do have, and I'm speaking specifically Farm Service Agency, because different programs and different agencies have different limits. And with the Farm Service Agency, if we do have a limited number of acres, dollars in a program, in general, we have the sign up, get to the deadline, and they have prorated. In general, so they might pay 55% of what they had set at the payment rate, or something like that amongst everybody who got their applications in. Then some of our conservation programs have a ranking attached, which is similar to how NRCS conducts theirs. And so when there's a ranking attached, in general, when we talk to you about that, it depends on the conservation needs, and those are specific to conservation programs with FSA. And so that might cut off because there's a set number of dollars or acres for that program.
For just a question with that, in terms of the ranking service, then at that point, does it kind of filter folks out, or does it filter folks in? Because of the fact that some of the folks that, and myself in that case, 20 years ago, I knew nothing about this.
Right.
And so do they get pushed to the front of the pile, or do they somewhere in the middle, or?
Well, how it works in terms of rankings, when we have a ranking program, it depends on the situation. There may be preferred practices, preferred acreages, preferred crop types, preferred grass types. It's always program specific when we have rankings. Okay, so you have to speak within the program. But when we talk about if there's a limited number of dollars issued, now I'm speaking for the program side. As far as farm loans, I do know that they have established dollars, and in the past, they did not extend the amounts, but over the past, I'm gonna say the past 5, 6 years, I'm not sure on the timeline, I'll just say that. But they have added funds to what was initially appropriated through legislative action. All of ours is through legislative action. And when they make changes to things like that. Now, if you're referring to a program, maybe a livestock program that was in the past, that was a specific disaster, when they set aside a specific disaster, that can happen. But I think the first come, first serve in terms of dollars with FSA has become a thing of the past. So, and now they're going along with a proration where everybody signs up during the sign up period, and then they adjust the payment rate by equally across the board. If you had 10 acres and he had 20, obviously he's going to have twice the money, but it might be 50% of the original set rate. Does that make sense?
Mary, would you say who you are?
My name is Mary Coonsey, and I'm the County Executive Director for Wagner and Mays County's Farm Service Agency.
And Mary would know more than I. Mary would certainly know more than I, but
we're the boots on the ground, so to speak. And so, but if you ever have a program or a specific question, I don't mind. I mean, I don't observe county boundaries. I mean, our farm isn't even in Wagner only, so I will answer the questions to anybody who calls my office. I don't mind if people call us. I will get you an answer. You can ask for me specifically. And that's one of the things I would encourage with your question, Arnetta. If someone comes into an office and they don't get the answer or something at the time, and Steve made a good point, busy, very busy, or sometimes it's how you ask the questions. It's a good idea to make an appointment, And if you're not satisfied with what maybe the technicians say, make an appointment with the director. Because especially in our area, we're shared managers. So I'm half-time in one office, half in another. So my knowledge is different than what my employees' knowledge are because they're focused on the programs and I am focused on the overall picture. So if you don't like the answer you get, contact the director. And we can try and get you the answer, find you the answer, or find out where. I have for Arnetta in the past called my state office to find out. She'll call and ask me a question. I'm like, no idea. And then I call her back or email her or whatever. So.
And let me say that Mary has even, when she says make an appointment, and we thank God for that ability, but there have been times where I've just dropped in. I've just dropped in. And Mary, do you have time? And no matter what she's doing, she'll push the things to the side, come on in the office. We've sat there, she's pointed it out to me, explained it to me. You know, some things I'm thick about simply because it's another language. And she breaks it down, and then she breaks it down even further for me to understand. So I really appreciate that. But not everybody will give you that. We have a long-standing relationship. And so that is the first thing that I would encourage, is to really get to know. We have people here from Muskogee County, Wagner, and Mays. I don't think there's anyone here from Tulsa County, but we got the state directors here. So, I mean, we've got the Army, we've got the crew, we've got the generals. And get to know them, you know, and don't go in with your sword and... and your AR, you know, don't go in like that.
And I would also like to say, there is that language communication. You know, you may ask for something, and we don't understand what you mean. And so I try to always, when I work with someone, and not everybody does this because we're all individuals, we've already discussed that, but find out what you do on your farm. And I may only, and also don't expect to talk about every program. Because if you come into my office expecting to talk about every program, you might as well have canceled your whole day and my whole day. Because we have so many. And so, you know, a lot of times we'll send you with reading material home and say, okay, and my biggest thing is, look at this, give me a call when you have questions. And I always expect not just one phone call. Because if you are new, and when I have somebody new, I like to set aside a 2-hour appointment time just for talking about the possibilities. And so it as they've touched on, it's complicated, it takes a lot of time, and short staffing has been an issue. And so, you know.
It's just like your family doctor. I mean, you gotta get a rapport between one that kind of understands and know what you're doing.
Right. So, but
as
please,
much as I've traveled around the state, you say Mary's not an anomaly.
No.
They're all, the vast majority I haven't met anyone that isn't, but I'm sure there's some out there. I'm not saying there's bad apples in every barrel. I'm not defending every one of them, so you might have a bad experience. I'm not saying that didn't happen, but the vast majority are just like this. They want to help you. Let them help you. Give them the opportunity to help you. You know.
I'd like to say
go ahead,
on that note, the UMAs and possiblies, I think at this point in state in our life now, is they have to be kind of put to the side because we've got to accept the fact that people have had a bad experience.
Mm-hmm.
And not you may have had, no, people have. Mm-hmm. And so on both sides of the table, it has to be addressed that, as the chief was just saying, 20 years ago, that may seem like, but that had that kind of effect on him.
Right.
And so we have to be more understanding that 20 years ago, this guy left and he never came back.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be our aim and
Mm-hmm.
our focus now, is that how can I help this guy when he comes in?
Good point. Do a little research on your own before you come. You know, look, I'm no great computer person, IT person, Lord knows this has killed me, that's going through the process of getting this job, trying to go through that stuff. But do a little of your own research as to what you need and what you're after before you go in, so you can be specific with the help you have. Because you made a great point. You know, if you go in and say, tell me what you can offer me, I mean, my gosh, I still don't know everything the FSA has to offer.
Right.
So that is a big opening that you're going through right there. So try to figure out what you need when you go in. So I've taken up way more time probably than I deserved or needed. So Maddie, I guess I'll turn it over to you. You're the one who will have more answers than I.
Thank you, Steve.
So briefly to introduce myself, my name is Maddie Elwine. I'm the outreach coordinator for the Oklahoma Farm Service Agency. So real briefly, just a little bit about me. I'm from Arizona, so this type of agriculture is a completely foreign language to me. My father, he was not involved with FSA. I'm a farmer's daughter, not involved with FSA, not involved with NRCS. None of that. So I'm coming into this, I came into this 2 years ago. I got my first internship in 2019, summer of 2019, and I worked for the National Agricultural Statistics Service. Also, wild different company or agency, means almost, I mean, it's weird how they all intertwine, but I am also very new to FSA. It's been a steep learning curve. And I'm very excited that we finally get to be out here face to face. I went to work for 3 months. Talk about one heck of a first job, right? Went to work for 3 months, and they said, sorry, you can't come back in the office. Go and do your work on your back porch on your computer. Yeah. So it's quite the change. Meaning that I will get the answers to your questions if I don't already have them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you guys not being comfortable with asking them here and then catching us on the side and asking in a personal setting. Calling our phone numbers, which I will also give that to you guys as well in my email. Calling us, emailing us if you're not comfortable with asking in front of everybody. We're still here. We're here to answer questions. I understand that everyone has had a bad experience at some point. Or if you haven't, you've heard of a bad experience. Working now, we're working to move past that. We want to work together. We want to move forward. We want to see where we can help our producers. Because I'm a diehard agriculturist. I was an FFA. I had my hogs. I love my plants. I'm all about it. There's nothing more. I took this job because I wanted to serve my producers. Because America wouldn't be America without our farmers and ranchers, and they're way underappreciated, and that's what I'm here for, is for the producer. I have been speaking on trying to get into, spread our information through with tribes. I've been working with the IAC, or Intertribal Agricultural Council as well, and different technical assistants to kind of work on my list of agricultural contacts. We understand that there's a lot of change that can happen within tribal governments. So if you would like to share those contacts with me, please, please, please pass them on, and I will send you guys emails directly. I'll add you to my news release list, and I will send you each news release that we send out. I'll send you all of our disaster designation announcements as they get sent out. I will call you once a month and let you know of any changes to the program. I'll get you added onto our Gov delivery system, make sure that you get all of your information and deadlines before they come up. Or if you have anybody that's interested in the job, I'm looking over here to the college staff. We are hiring here soon, so anybody that's interested or would like to know these job announcements, send me an email, send me a phone call, give me your email here, and I will send you each time that we have a job opening. I'll just pass those on to you, and then that's how we can grow. We won't be short-staffed if we have more people apply. So there's me asking for you guys to spread the word on our positions. So I think that's kind of all I had on that front of the conversation. And I just wanted to we had some talk about bad experiences. I'm going to share one of my good experiences with one of the county offices. They had no idea who I was. This is when I just started. It was in June of 2020. 2021, I apologize. So it was last year. I live in Arizona, so I was driving back home. I forgot my wallet. Where did I find out that I forgot my wallet? I thought I forgot my wallet. Where did I find that out? At the gas station in Sayre, Oklahoma. The only gas station on the exit. I had 30 miles till E, and of course, I was like, I'm gonna go get her. If I leave my house at 2:30 in the morning, I can make it home for supper. So I do. That's my motivation, is a home cooked meal, because I still live on a college budget, so it's pretty much just ramen and like grilled chicken. That's pretty much all I live on. So I always have to try to get home. It was 6:30 in the morning when I had no money, stranded at a Sayre gas station. I called that county office on my cell phone. It wasn't a government phone, and so I was like, it's 6:30, nobody's gonna answer. Somebody answered. 6:30 in the morning, somebody was in that Beckham County office answering me. And I said, hey, I know you don't know me. I need $100, please. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. And they're like, what? And I was like, please help me. Like, I don't know. At least give me enough money so I can turn around and get back. And like, but then I'm going with a headwind, so maybe you need to give me like 120, 130, so I can at least like fill up twice to get that. And they were gonna do it. They didn't know who I was. They knew somebody needed help. 6:30 in the morning, that program technician answered my phone call. And he didn't know I was Maddie from the state office. He was just like, wow, this dumb blonde over here doesn't know how to travel. So there's kind of a good experience, and there's a lot more that are like that. That is, I don't know geography super duper well. That's a far ways away. And so if we're looking at the span of Oklahoma, I think we're doing okay on good experiences across the state. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that real briefly. Now we're going to get into a little bit of some nitty gritties. And I brought some forms, and they're on that back table over there. We have a few forms with us, and it's the CC 860, CCC 860, and the AD 2047. I'm going to try and keep this as non-alphabet soup as possible. I'm going to do my very, very best. If it gets complicated, be like, hey, you're speaking too fast, or you're being complicated. There's no shame in that. So these forms very, they seem extensive, they seem wordy, that we have great county employees that are willing to sit down with you and help fill them out with you. Or if you want, you can try and fill them out and say, did I do it right? And then go take them in there. But this is the first step to getting your farm number. So the CCC 860 is for actively engaged producers. So this is what you're going to fill to see if you qualify, like if you're, so some of our programs require you to be actively producing. This is the form that you'll complete in order to, yes ma'am.
Okay, so as a college, because we are looking to start this programs, but as an institution, would we still apply for?
So that's a little bit of a complicated question. I'm gonna have to get back to you on the details of that specifically. To the extent of my knowledge, as like a co-op, one person goes through one person, rather than as the community.
Okay.
So like looking at like if you were to do a community garden, it wouldn't be to the community, it would be to one individual. So one individual would have to do this type of stuff.
Okay.
I'm happy to get more, because as an institution I understand, I know that Langston University does some of the stuff as well, so I can see what their process is on that, as if you would like on that too, and I'm happy to follow up with you on that. But specifically as only one producer, the CCC 860, this is for proving that you're an actively engaged producer for program eligibility, as well as our non-insured crop assistance program as a waiver for that. Now, the fun one, the AD 2047. The AD 2047 on your form, that is on the table. There was another form on there as well, AD 2106. That form is now obsolete. AD 2047 has taken over that form. This form This is to get you in the system. This is how you get your farm number. This is step one. It is for COC purposes. If anybody's interested in running for your county committee, I'm pretty sure in June we're going to be looking for names to run our county committee. So if anybody's specifically interested in that, please contact Mary because she is happy to put you guys on the ballot. And it's also for our Gov Delivery. Again, Gov Delivery, great resource. We will not bombard you with emails. You're not going to have to like delete every day. We're going to send you a total of 3 emails total at the very most. It's going to be one from the state office, and our state office partners with NRCS, and so we have one newsletter for NRCS and FSA. And then it's going to be 1 to 2 emails from your county office. It's really important that you guys sign up for Gov Delivery because that's how we can reach out to you. I don't like being at home and I don't like being in the office, so I do my very best to not be in the office. So I try to do a lot of events like this. I try to come out, I try to speak with producers, I try to meet with producers one-on-one, I try to go to farms. Oklahoma's kind of a big state, so we can't really meet every single producer in the state. So Gov Delivery is a great resource, super easy for you guys to sign up with, and it will send you specific programs that we have going on. County offices will put in their vacancies, their job vacancies, and the state office will also put in their CED training vacancies as well. So that's a handy one because some of our programs are county specific on when they trigger and when they're eligible. So for instance, we have a program that covers drought and covers livestock loss, or like livestock forage losses, and so you grow small grains and it didn't grow because it didn't rain. Some counties trigger, some counties don't. So that's why it's important to be in Gov Delivery because it will tell you exactly when that county triggered because they will amplify that program rather than just through the state office. There's also this really handy dandy thing called a text, which I'm pretty sure everybody in here knows what a text is, but if somebody's like my father and they don't know what text messaging is and still use a flip phone, it just pops up and it says, hey, you're gonna get this program closes on this date, please sign up. So a lot of times if anybody's a hog producer or knows of a hog producer, you guys are probably gonna get a text right about now saying, hey, April 25th, you're gonna get a deadline for this hog program. If it doesn't apply to you, move on with your day. If it does apply to you, pick up that phone and call Mary because you're gonna need to get signed up for that program. So that is step number 1. Those 2 forms are up at the front, and I believe everybody had them if they were passed around. And that's where it starts. Sometimes counties, and depending on what county you go to, sometimes you'll receive both forms because you don't need to redo a form each time unless you feel like there's a change that you need to put on there. So sometimes they give you both forms. Sometimes they only give you one, and then they'll give you the next one when it comes to that program eligibility or, yes ma'am.
So, the reason for the CCC 860, as you see on the sheet that we provided, it is a socially disadvantaged, limited resource and beginning farmer or rancher certification. That puts you in a different class. You understand? Puts you in a different class. It's a different pool of money. Am I right? That's available for those who are limited resource and socially disadvantaged or historically underserved. Right?
Yeah, that's for what, so specifically I'm going to put it into a direct example. As well as you guys also, I made these little packets for everybody about some of the programs that we're going to go over. These are kind of some of our basic programs and some of our most popular programs that people in this region are typically involved in. I believe it's the 3rd fact sheet in this, so it's right in the middle. It's the non-insured crop disaster assistance program. On the back page, you'll see that there's service fees and premiums. NAP is one of our programs. It's an insurance program, so you guys would have to pay in order to go into that program. The CCC 860 is your waiver for your NAP program. Does that kind of clear it up a little, make it clear as mud? Okay. So now I'm going to that's how you get a farm number. That's step one. You need a farm number with the FSA office before you can go to your NRCS office and do your fun NRCS conservation things. Okay. Again, if you guys think of questions throughout the time, even if we moved on, we can go back. So there's that. Now I'm going to get to some of the fun stuff. Money. I brought I printed out some applications, and I brought our microloan applications. If you know anybody that is interested in a microloan, or I brought youth loan as well, then you guys please take as many as you want, and then I can always print more. So take all you want, pass them around, tell people this is what it is, and then you guys can see what is needed and what can kind of start coming up with a plan on how to get your loan and to go that route.
So, Matt?
Yes.
Okay, so Bacone, you've registered with FSA for the college that does not exempt you as an individual from doing your own thing as well. I just want to make that clear. You're not Bacone per se. It's an institute, so you have to look at yourself not only as a nonprofit but also as a farm. So all of this stuff does apply to you, because you're a farm if you register.
Yes. So if you as an individual would like to do this as well, you guys are still more than welcome to do it as an individual as well. So microloans, loan maximum of $50,000. We have an operating loan and an ownership loan. Those they're fairly straightforward. So if you guys have any specific questions on how it can relate to in particular operation, I'm happy to kind of answer that to the extent of my knowledge. However, it's really easy to get in the weeds of this, so I just kind of wanted to make sure that this was available, that you guys knew what we had offered, and then get you guys some contact information if you specifically wanted it to your particular farm loan manager. Now, over here we have our youth loans. I also brought our little handout for those and our application for those. Youth loans, it's a $5,000 loan maximum for students that are the ages of 10 to 20 years old. Again, super low interest rates, really cool. I don't really know a whole lot about money, but my dad said that if I was still a kid, he would make me do a youth loan because it would probably help me be a little bit better about money now. So that's his old man talk to me, is on making me want to do a youth loan. I do know several individuals that had a youth loan, raised cattle, sold the cattle right before they went to college, paid off all of their college loans, and then bought themselves a new truck. So it's a really fun program. It's really interesting. It helps teach a lot of different valuable things, and you would work with within a different organization. So it can either be a tribal organization or a student organization or FFA or 4-H. Yes, ma'am.
So, Rebecca, so the FAFSA and the other kinds of loans that students get, this is at a much different interest rate, and because you've added the agribusiness degree plan, this is something that you want to be sure to add on to that, because not only would it give you active participation, utilizing the college grounds for their farm operation, it will get them funds at a much lower interest rate.
Yes, and this happens to be our Vice President of Student Affairs, and I just leaned over and said, this is really going to go well with what we are doing with this new ag program.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like she said, much better interest rate. There's no limit to the amount that the student can get once they pay one off. So you can pay one off and then get another one, and then pay it off and then get another one. I've heard stories about some people doing it, and it funds their show cattle. So they'll buy a couple, sell their pairs, buy a show heifer, sell the show heifer, buy a couple more pairs, and then still use that show heifer and pay that off, and then get another loan, and then buy some pairs, and then buy a heifer, and then go out that way, and then they end up with a head of 25 pairs. And that's the start of their operation. So it's a really good beginning farmer and rancher option that we have.
And so I want to say, and they're not limited to cattle and hogs. I mean, there's chickens, there's eggs, there's the microgreens. There are so many other things that they can do within the program. So long as they have a viable business plan, which is another, economics and all of that kind of thing that's involved. So long as they have a viable business plan,
Yeah.
they qualify.
And we have a group right now in Oklahoma City, and he's working on doing it with urban specifically, and urban farming and doing it within the backyard. And I'm really personally really fascinated with the food crisis that we're going to wind up having in 2040 when we're having to figure out how we can increase our food supply. So I'm really kind of honing in on this urban farming deal, and I think that this is another really great way to help get students and help get other kids interested in understanding that there's all different types of farming. There's not just cows. There's not just wheat. There's more to it than that, and we need it all. And there's a lot of different opportunities for students and other youth in order to get involved with farming and ranching on all levels in all depths of agriculture. So that is all I have specifically for FSA. I also have this back here. I don't know if black vultures are a big problem out here. I've kind of asked if they're a big problem everywhere I go, and so far everybody's told me that they're not a problem. But ODAF sent me 150 of these pamphlets saying that it's a big problem. So if it is a big problem, please take these. They're non-lethal methods. Unfortunately, you can't shoot them. I know that sounds really, really cruel, but that's the deal. So these are non-lethal methods to get rid of these. So this is kind of a handy pamphlet if you know of anybody having an issue with this. So I just wanted to throw out that's what this is. But I'm not the contact for this. I can put you in contact with them, which is also on the back, so it's the same phone number I'm going to give you. But that's all.
And they're on the table in the back.
Do you have any information on the wild hogs? The
Feral
hogs. I mean, it's like they're moving closer and closer and closer to our
campus.
These lovely individuals will also have the same information, would have more information on that. So wild hogs and vultures are part of ODAF and APHIS. Alphabet soup, Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, something like that. They'll be able to help you with more information on the wild hogs as well.
Also, that was on the Department of Agriculture. They handle feral hog issue.
It's changed dramatically in the 7.5 years we have lived where we live.
They're migrating farther.
Department of Agriculture will come out and get with them, and they can set up a trap and trap them, and then they dispose of them.
I have the local contacts information for the APHIS personnel. They're assigned to specific counties. I have their numbers.
Okay, and I live in Wagner County, so I would appreciate that. I've got a neighbor she's afraid to go walking anymore because they have come up with that property so much.
Right now, agriculture and property damage are the two largest issues with the vultures and the hogs both. And there's been a lot of studies done on the non-lethal ways of deterring them, and it's very interesting. And there is now also availability to get permits, and it's through the APHIS local contacts, for 5 a year. Because they're protected through the Migratory Birds Act. So, but I do have the information of who you can contact with your county specifically, who the local contacts are. I do have the regional and the state contact as well, but if you want to contact my office. And I have my business cards with me if anybody wants them. I have passed out a few already, but anyone who wants to I'll be happy to direct you who you need to talk to.
And absolutely, and she mentioned there's a map on the back of this handout, and it kind of shows the regional and the district managers, and it also has their phone number as well as their names, and you can kind of go through it that way. ODAP is also here. There's the address, the phone number, as well as their email and their website, and so you guys can kind of go through that way, and you can kind of see if anybody's, if you're not from Wagner, say you're from Potawatomi County is kind of one of 4 in the middle of this map here, so whichever